I'm gonna read this because I meant to. Um, See, here's the problem with the secured party process. The trust stuff, absolutely love it. It's great. I studied this stuff for 3 years. That's why I did it. So at the time, I believed in it until I started discovering the whole secret of the name. And if you, everybody thinks if I do this, I'm establishing a security interest in the name. Now, let's say you want to establish a security interest in the name. How would you do that? Do you have an idea?
Uh, Trademark maybe?
Nope.
Then I'm not exactly sure.
How do you establish a security interest in anything? The administrative process. Now, if it's not your name and they did not disclose to you that you're operating as the registered agent, does that now it's implied under AmJur 2D, the American jurisprudence. I was going through the section on agency the other day, and there's one page that says that the agency is either implied or expressed. In our situation, it's implied. Why? They gave you the birth certificate. Well, we already know what it is. It's a registered organization. We just didn't know it at the time. They knew what it was. The social, it's printed right there on the back that you don't own it. So it's an implied office of agency. Okay. Now, since they didn't necessarily disclose it and they didn't, and the principal never communicated with the agent, and the Northwest Ordinance made slavery and involuntary servitude illegal. Technically, they owe you back pay till your 18th birthday. Why? Age of majority. When you were a minor, they can't necessarily pay you because why? You can't employ minors. You know, child labor is kind of illegal. So if you were the registered agent and they owe you back pay and you do the administrative process on the back pay, and then from here forward, you declare what your salary is going to be. Now you have to make it a reasonable salary, and then you establish a security interest with the trustees because of the back pay. Now there's a debt owed. Now you can take that security interest and put it in the trust. Now, I heard a rumor recently, and it's just a rumor, just hearsay, that someone actually did that. They did the administrative process on the back pay, and the state they were in actually settled out of court. It's just
So
hearsay.
can
I
you
have no evidence.
can you elaborate a little bit on maybe some of the points of what that administrative process might look like?
Send them a notice. Tell them you lay out your memorandum of law and your legal arguments. I just gave you some of it. The Northwest Ordinance. You never use the 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment isn't law. It's only public policy because the 13th Amendment was only passed by resolution. The Ordinance of 1787 is the actual law that forbids slavery. The most recent court decision I found was in 1996. That's 220 years later.
You said 1787 or 1887?
1787. It's the Ordinance of 1787, otherwise known as the Northwest Ordinance. See, everybody knows the Declaration of Independence, Constitution, and Bill of Rights as one of the founding documents. But they don't realize there's two other sets of founding documents. One, see, the Declaration of Independence, Constitution, and Bill of Rights was done in 1776. In 1777, you had the Articles of Confederation, and 10 years later, in 1787, you had the Northwest Ordinance. And those are all the contracts, those three sets of documents are what the states had to agree to become states. It's the contracts. That's why when you use the 13th Amendment, you'll see people scream 13th Amendment and the judges ignore it. Why? It's only public policy. They don't have to follow public policy. They can if they choose to, when it fits.
I also think that they can't take away your ability to contract.
Right? Article 1, Section 10.
Article 1, Section 10.
Right. So they couldn't make it law. They had to make it policy because they can't take away your ability to contract and decide for yourself.
And right? certain types of slavery is merely contracts.
Yeah, well, everything at the end of the day is contracts, right? I mean,
no,
whether it's implied or whether it's by your behavior, it's dictated on something.
No, not necessarily. Forced slavery, okay, like we've seen throughout in different cultures throughout history, that's unconstitutional because you cannot compel a contract. But go back to the Bible and go look at what slavery was in the Bible. It was almost always indentured servitude. It was a debt that was owed. Okay. But there was still a stipulation in the process that after 7 years, they were to be released, the year of Jubilee, and all their property and rights were given back, right? But what does it say? If the slave doesn't want to leave and says he wishes to remain a slave, then it was for life. Why? Because the person still had the choice to contract. And hey, there are documented times where slaves that had it good said, nope, we will stay right here.
Isn't that what Harriet Tubman was basically saying when the guy asked her, why didn't you free more slaves? And she said, I would have freed them all if they would have only known that they were slaves. Right? So
most Americans don't know they're slaves today. And Jesus said what? Those that have ears to hear and eyes to see. You can't reach everyone. And there's so many bad teachers out there and misinformation. And Hamilton, I ain't trying to give you a hard time the other night, but I'm just one of those that I have a pet peeve for things that are not true statements. And it wasn't that I was trying to give you a hard time. I was just trying to get you to realize, no, you can't use the Constitution as part of your argument to show that it's been done away with. Because then if it's done away with, you can't use any of it. And the Constitution hasn't been suspended. Now, if you read the Senate Report 93-549, the document I shared, which is 676 pages, they list the 470 codes, rules, and regulations to show that the president is operating under his war power. It doesn't negate the Constitution, though.
It definitely negates the Constitution because we still under that Emergency Powers Act. We still under Trade with the Enemy Act.
Nope. You're not.
Yes, we
No,
are.
you're not.
We on the trade with the enemy.
What is the Trading with the
We on
Enemy
the
Act?
trade.
In its base,
Trading.
what is the Trading with the Enemy Act? It's a banking act.
Everything is commerce. Everything
That's
is
right.
commerce. Everything is commercial.
It's a banking act. The reason I no longer say we, as in me, you, us, men and women, are not under the Trading with the Enemy Act is because it goes back to the name. Who owns the
Yeah,
name?
I'm speaking broadly. I'm not saying everyone. I'm saying broadly. We
Only
are under
its citizens are under the Trading with the Enemy Act.
and 99.9% of people are citizens of
No,
the.
they're not.
No. Yes.
No, they're not. They believe they are. I did a FOIA request with the government asking for any documents showing that I was a U.S. citizen. They come back and said there's no records. We've been making a presumption that we're a U.S. citizen.
Under their eyes.
No, we are making a presumption that we are a U.S.
No,
citizen.
not. It's not us. It's the government that see us as citizens by our words, acts, and deeds. The record proves.
But the average person out there, do they not say, I am a U.S. citizen? Yes. They make a presumption.
They don't just say they're a U.S. citizen. They check the benefits and say they're U.S. citizen. They sign to be a U.S. citizen. The applications show and prove that they're U.S. citizens. The record proves you can.
They are actually not signing that they are a U.S. citizen, though, because they don't understand. They don't own the name. The social is not them. They are actually signing up that the trust is a U.S. citizen, and they are merely the registered agent filling out the documents that they're supposed to be sending to the principal.
It's this misappropriation of the name is really where
Correct.
it all goes to, right? That's because you can't be, if you're not the name, then you can't possibly be a United States citizen, right?
Correct.
So if you step into that role and you claim it wholeheartedly, well, of course they're going to consider you to be that, right? So not only does your paperwork need to reflect it, but you need to be able to walk the walk and talk the talk, right? Because at every single pass that you go to, there's going to be a gatekeeper, and they're going to be trying to keep you in the gate.
If you're going to talk like a duck and walk like a duck, you better be a duck. See, the name is their property. Because why? The infant was abandoned. That made it a ward of the state under the 14th Amendment. That means under the Necessary and Propers Clause, they have to provide for that infant. This is why I'm saying it's not been suspended. They're doing things according to the Constitution to provide for the name.
No. You
can disagree all day long. That's fine.
No, it's not.
But it's not been suspended.
Contract make the law. Contracts make the law, not the Constitution. Contracts
Article 1,
make
Section 10.
Right. Contracts makes the law. Article 1, Section 10. It supersedes the Constitution. It says it right inside that article.
Yeah, but that's part of the Constitution. It doesn't mean it's suspended. The government can pass no law that interferes with the obligation of a contract. What's implied by that is the right to not contract. Just like when Anton Scalia in front of Congress, when he was talking about the role of the U.S. Supreme Court, most people would listen to that video and not understand what he's saying. One, he proved that the United States Supreme Court is not the same as the Supreme Court of the United States. It's an Article 1 court. And two, he said something very powerful. When he said, when it comes to your unconstitutional laws, we don't strike them down. We just ignore them. Now, why did he say that? Because he understood those quote unquote unconstitutional laws are contracts. If
All
you
of his
want the
contract.
contract, then you can. It's a right you have.
Yeah, we all have the unlimited ability to contract. Everyone do, private and publicly. The thing is that when we say we have constitutional rights,
No, we
the
don't. They're
contract,
constitutionally protected
yeah,
rights.
but the contracts is what they going by, and that's what they're enforcing against you for every situation. It supersedes. You could say you have all type of constitutional rights. They look at your record and see that you've been participating inside their conduct, and they're going to treat you as such,
Correct.
as a
But
14th
that
Amendment
doesn't
citizen.
but that
13th.
doesn't negate the Constitution. It's the problem is the people don't understand on which part applies to them and how.
Yeah, but people think that the Constitution is where their rights come from. That's not
Yeah,
where
and
your rights
that's
come from.
no, they come from the creator.
Correct.
Call it God, call it nature, call it what you want. They come there the rights are there before the Constitution was ever made.
Correct. Yeah.
Has
The
anybody ever read The Law of Nations?
Yes, the law of nations. They follow that.
Yep. And also, has anybody ever seriously looked into the documents that the states and the federal government have on birth record registration?
Well, I will tell you, Boris just had a conversation the other day with the head legal advisor for Vital Records in Florida. And the guy told Boris the truth on everything. And you know, the last thing he told Boris was, he said, "This is what you're missing." And Boris said, "What's that?" He said, "You have to take it to the county assessor in the county it is doing business and have the value of the property assessed." That's how you find out how much the bond is
Do you
worth.
also realize that in those documents, right, because it's a surety bond. Yeah. So do you realize also that the reason that bond was created is because in all these books, all these records, in all the laws that they have for registering births, the parents only left the paperwork at the hospital.
Yeah.
They did not fill it out themselves and send it in.
What do you think I've been talking about? I've got it.
And it
Listen,
states so right in these damn books. You are responsible for filling it out. And they leave the hospital responsible.
Listen, I got a document straight from the CDC website that lists all 50 state codes that the placenta,
I've seen it.
The placenta and the baby are not the same, and both are considered products of conception, and both must be registered.
Uh-huh.
You know what they call that?
What?
That product is think of a Reese's peanut butter cup. You got baby's biology is the peanut butter, mom's is the chocolate, and that's called a tertium quid. TERTIUM quid, like they say money in the UK.
You're gonna have to type that in the group so I can look it up later.
Will do. I'll do that right now. I yield.
Well, that's a loud chicken. Well, that's a rooster.
Oh, sorry, it's mine.
Tell that rooster he's gonna come to my house for dinner later.
Oh, well, you have probably about 15 or 20 hens, a couple babies, and about 10 roosters here in my river running free.
Yeah. Once you start understanding that you are not that name and what your role is according to it, everything in this system starts getting very simple. I had somebody the other day that's been studying this stuff for a while, and he said, "You know what? You make it sound so simple." I said, "Because it is."
You also have to realize your Christian name should come last on these damn documents,
I don't
because
agree.
nobody knew what your name was. Your first name, the one that they list as your first name, is actually your family name, because your family hasn't given you a name yet.
I don't agree. And the reason I don't agree is because, and I've thought about that since you said that before, is I know
In France,
somebody,
that's the way
hold
it
on,
works.
that's in
Yeah.
France. That's in France. Okay. The guy that I know, and I only know him by John Smith, he set up his stuff. He's in the private. Okay. And he told me the story of his most recent court date. He walks into court. They call the name. He said, I'm here to handle the matter for that person. Well, judge says, what's your name? He said, John. What, no last name? He said, nope, just John. It's what my mother gave me. And he said, well, I'm going to issue a warrant for that person that's failure to appear. He said, Your Honor, you might want to see these documents. He showed his DBA, the LLC, the trust, etc., that he's doing business as that, right? And the judge turned and looked at the DA and said, don't you ever bring someone back in here without a last name. And the DA said, well, how do I get his last name? Judge said, I don't know. That's between you and him.
I'm not even sure I agree with any name Prince turned himself into a symbol, because I don't know, was I consulted on any of these names? I don't remember being in Mama's womb and saying, hey,
You don't have firsthand knowledge.
Exactly.
But what you're missing is you have the right to declare who you are when you're ready.
Well,
21 to 25.
I'm in a fairly unique situation with my court case, because here's the thing. In the mid-90s, I began changing my name. No, I did not go get an attorney or a court order. I pretty much, all I can call it is a Jedi mind trick. And I got rid of the so-called first name, Joseph, because that was my father's name, and nobody ever called it to me. And I'm like, well, what's that Christian? I don't label myself a Christian. And I never used a name. So I just, I like ease of use. So I got rid of that name, and I took off a K at the end of the so-called family name. And then in their system, became a voluntarily missing person. I left the country in 2004 I did not leave any real property, any U.S. bank account, debit card, credit union, payment, nothing. And I was gone 11 years solid, meaning never set foot back here. So I know somebody was probably trying to chase down some sort of open delinquent account, and that shit got adjudicated, and they declared me double dead and missing at sea.
Now, here's one for you. You know
Say what?
Eon?
No, go ahead.
You don't know Eon on YouTube?
No.
Go look it up. EEON.
Please mute yourself when you're not speaking. Please mute yourself when you're not speaking so that there's no echo.
No, Eric's echoing because he's if your volume's up and you're not using a headset, your microphone picks up the sound. Eon, he changed his name to Eon, and it's EE space ON. And what did he do? He did the same thing Popeye did, and John did. He goes into court. I'm here to handle the matter for that estate. Well, what's your name? He said Eon. He's got 37 cases where the courts call him Eon. He's got his own social security number for the name Eon. He created the name himself. All you got to do is use it in commerce and establish that paper trail, and you have changed your name. You don't need the court's permission.
So let me ask you. So in their system, like I have a current case right now because I was a journalist at the Capitol on January 6th, and I caught their stage play. No, I
Oh,
was
I
not
know
there
it
for
was a
Trump.
stage play.
Yeah, I just want to make clear that I was not there as part of any MAGA or Stop the Steal nonsense or that. I don't know why I went there. Well, because I knew what was going to happen, pretty much. Something.
Man,
So,
I knew they were setting Trump up. Love him or hate him, they set his ass up.
I don't know about that. He's been surrounded by Kissinger and all that. I don't want to
I
get into
never
that.
said I trusted him.
Apparently Trump has been an FBI informant since 1981, if I recall correctly.
So now, back on subject. Let's see. Where's my? Here we go. I've switched headsets now.
Wait, while you're thinking of that, I want to ask a question. So when I log on to New York DMV, anybody that knows anything about websites, you've got different fields that are pulling from different databases. So on the left-hand column, it's spitting out capital J space no dot capital J BOCHENEK, and then in the main field where the main body of the website, it's putting all caps ERIC space BOCHENE, no K. So
Yeah.
I got them dead to rights that they just create joinders between different legal fiction names.
Well, if you own the name because you've declared who you are, then that's where you can actually do the trademark. You can do different things to protect your security interests.
Well, I invented that name, and it seems like that's identity theft, and they have no rights to that name.
Yeah, but if you don't ever bring up the argument, guess what?
Yeah, I got the judge to delay stuff. He tried to push me into a trial. They've been keeping standby. These people are crazy over Zoom, and
Now,
he tried to say trial, and I told him, yeah, no. I need to get some discovery on the original arrest warrant and this name thing. And I showed him the birth certificate, and I said, we got a problem here, don't we? He's like, oh. And then he got all. He's like, don't send fiduciary assignments to anybody in the court. I said, under what law? You said you want to keep me an attorney. I'm trying to establish a proper contract with your standby counsel here, Judge.
Did you hear me talk about my ticket in New York back in February, March?
No, I have not. I'm just familiar with you over Floyd shows, and I just joined this group.
Yeah. Well, he interviewed me over that ticket because what do I tell people? You don't own the name. Well, on that case, I got the ticket. It was a DOT ticket because I'm a commercial truck driver. And February 21st, I got the ticket. The court date was supposed to be March 28th. Well, March 16th, I called the court clerk. Said, I need to speak to the court clerk. Well, there's three of us here. I said, well, I need to speak to the one that manages the court to make sure everything runs right. She said, that'll be me. I said, well, I'm in possession of a debt instrument here, and I need to verify your EIN for tax reporting purposes. And I read the EIN. And she says, I can't verify that's what that is. You might have to talk to Barbara down at the town hall. I said, I'll get her number from you here in a moment. And then I said, my next question is what is the penal sum on this instrument? And she says, well, I don't know what that is or how to find it, which I already knew she was lying because everything they do has a penal sum. She said, I said, so I start reading the instrument number, and she says, are you giving me a ticket number? I said, ma'am, if you believe that's what it is, that's on you. I said, the way I see it, this is a debt instrument or an instrument of value, which means under Title 18 U.S.C. 8 makes it an obligation of the United States. She says, are you the name? And I said, ma'am, that name is owned by the United States, and they are a secured party in this matter. I meant to say I am merely the registered agent, but I didn't. I said I was the beneficiary, but what I said afterward is what the registered agent's duty is. I said it is my duty to notify the principal of anything that affects its interest. And she says, "Can you hold a minute?" And she comes back about a minute later and said, "Well, that matter's been sealed and dismissed." And I said, "Well, can you send that signed order to the address you have on file?" "Well, I can't until you verify who you are." I said, "Okay, you'll have a letter out in the mail next week." She got my letter on the 24th. It was a demand letter rehashing the phone call because I'd recorded it. And she says, and she must have went, "Oh crap," because she got that letter, according to the post office, on the 24th, turned around, printed out the order on the 24th, and either went right back to the post office or was at the post office first thing the next morning, because that was 24th was a Thursday, and it was sitting at my house in North Carolina on the 28th. And on the order, it says sealed and dismissed. And not only that, it also says that the defendant was arrested. Did they ever put me in handcuffs? No. They arrested the trust.
I got a better one. If you go onto the DOJ website, these assholes invented, well, they put a all caps last name, comma, upper lowercase first name. They said I was arrested on a date, and they called it all uppercase New York, comma, Hartford, and there's no such place. I live in New Hartford. There's a Hartford, Connecticut, but there is no Hartford, New York. And then it says I pled guilty on all accounts. There's 4 cases I found, and there's probably another 4 or half a dozen from what I gather. But even on the DOJ website, I mean, what the hell? What do I make of that?
It's not you, it's the trust. They're placing liens against the estate. Everybody runs around thinking it's my name, it's my trust. No, it's not. The state was the grantor that created it.
If you want to break people out of that cycle about the name, and that's why I don't do any of this family. You know, I know a lot of people have that pride in the family, and they put that of the family, all that old European stuff. I stay clear from that. But Kate of Gaia, she has the she covers that. The only one thing I don't agree with her, him, whatever that it is, him. I don't see that it's illegal to use the name. If you're the beneficiary of the trust, and they created the system, well, we have to use it only out of I guess what's the word I'm looking for? We have to use it out of necessity because, well, geez, I mean, somebody find me another option where we can live in a world that paperwork doesn't equal reality in forms, and I'll be there. But
actually, no. Back in the day, I mean, you don't sound too up in age. Back in the day, the Social Security number used to have a phrase printed on it: "Do not use for identification." Well, my buddy Brian Parker reminded me of that, and I realized something. I said, "Holy crap! They warned us." But the government will always do the will of the people. And the people, even though they warned us not to use it for identification, the people did. So the government did what? They took that off. Again, you have the right to declare who you are when you come of age. You're not declaring who you are. You believe that's your name and you own it, so you use it. So you're getting in trouble because why? You're using another's property without legal permission. You're not the beneficiary. People say, "Well, I'm the beneficiary," and I ask them, "Where's your evidence?" Now, you might be, but write a letter to the Social Security Administration and ask them. Am I the beneficiary for this account? Make it that simple. If they write you a simple response that says, yes, you are the beneficiary, you want them to say something simple like that. You are the beneficiary. The implies singular, the only one. Now you can play that to the hilt. Your Honor, I have a document right here that says I am the beneficiary of this account. And what's the rights and duties and obligations of a beneficiary?
Nothing.
You don't have liability if the trustees are doing their job.
Well, okay, because I guess I've made the mistake. If that's true what you're saying, I mean, God, these names. Then are we? Am I? I don't like to speak for anybody else. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Am I the authorized representative?
Representative?
Or agent?
Yeah. Go get a magnifying glass on your personal checks. Look at the signature line. It's microprint. It says what? Authorized representative.
Yeah.
What's another term for authorized representative? Registered agent. Now the state's the grantor because the infant was abandoned. The informant was the mother and or the father. Who were they informing on? Some unnamed mother they did not name in the documents that
No,
abandoned the infant.
They're informing on that I put it in there, that tertium quid, that
Yeah.
that Reese's peanut butter cup. By the way, you got science on your side. Nobody realize, well, not too many people realize this. That what I call the tertium quid or the Reese's peanut butter cup. See, that peanut butter, your unique chromosomes, which half came from mom and half from dad, that Reese's peanut butter cup. See, your biology cannot mix with mine. We got a lot of stuff in common, like the air we breathe, but your biology and my biology have nothing in common. Nothing, biologically speaking. This is not theory. This is not political science, political theory. This is biology, one of the few real sciences we got out there. So you've got biology right there. You are not that tertium quid. You're not the Reese's peanut butter cup. And if you want to throw in some papal decrees, look up the what is it? Unum sanctum. So as much as I dislike the Catholic Church, look at the decree of unum sanctum. That tells you right there. I yield.
Yeah. So, yeah, well, just like you probably heard me a minute ago talk about the CDC document, both products have to be registered. The parents are not registering the baby. And then the government turns around and gives you the infant paperwork. You think it's you because your mother's intentions were to name you that. The hospital turns around and names the infant that because you let the hospital do the paperwork. Then when you went home, like remember 2020 said, the parents never recorded their property, which is the baby. So they let you, in a roundabout way, be the responsible party, because if not, they couldn't make no money because they're bankrupt. Now, what's the duty of the registered agent?
Not only monetarily, bankrupt in every aspect of the term.
Yeah, technically, yeah. I mean, I do somewhat agree with that, but the government is merely a reflection of the people. So if they're bankrupt, so are the people. See, it's a symbiotic relationship. We're not doing our fiduciary duty, and we're being volunteering to be held liable.
Okay, let's talk about traffic tickets. Pastor, you signed a traffic ticket. Let me ask you a simple question.
I didn't sign it.
Oh, you didn't sign it.
He just gave it to me. They don't freaking make you sign them most of the time anymore.
Wow.
Why?
And his name was on it?
It wasn't his name. It was a freaking fictitious name. It was in all caps.
I understand that.
Pastor, okay. Pastor, let me ask you, because I got
Were you driving? Were you commercially driving at the time? Yes or no?
Oh yeah.
Okay, see, that is a tricky situation because you really can't. Well, it's commercial driving, but I got one in the beginning of the year, icy road. Anyway, this ticket said, the officer's name was, well, I guess you could read it Paone, like some Italian name, but it was all caps Paone. Okay, and then I didn't. They didn't make me sign it. I tried to call the clerk of the court. These people had the gumption to say, I said, what's your name? Oh, Marie. I said, can I have your full name? No, no, no. Um, I sent them a bunch of stuff, and then I got they colluded with New York DMV, and I got a notice of termination for failure to pay something. I didn't do it the right way, but anyway, I mean, this woman wasn't even identifying.
Well, guess what? My ticket was in Queensbury, New York. Not only was it in Queensbury, New York, I now know how to find the contracts that the state signs with the FMCSA to do business with the federal government, and the name of the organization that's on the ticket does not match the name of the organization that's contracted to do commerce. Two different registered organizations. So that means what? It's a simulated legal process. The organization that is claiming to wrote the ticket has no contract with the FMCSA to actually write the contract, write the tickets.
Hey, Pastor, would you say, like, I want to get an exact record of what they did with my two names, the one I was not consulted about, and given that.
You'll have to do a FOIA request to do that.
Social
You really
Security?
will. Maybe different agencies. Because if you want to know, you can't send it to the court. FOIA requests do not apply to the court. Now, is there an administrative office of the court? So FOIA request possibly would apply there. Okay.
Well, I downloaded the what do they call it? The full record, or not the abstract, the full record of my DMV report, and all the tickets that I had prior to the name change, and a number of them, like maybe 4 or 5. The ticket numbers magically were all 999999999. Not just one, all of them. What the heck happened?
Well, the ticket in its legal sense is nothing more than a constructive trust.
Yeah. Oh, no. I'm talking about separate tickets on separate locations and separate dates.
Oh, I got what you were saying. They just made the numbers the same, all 9s.
Yeah,
the actual ticket number
only for the ones that were under the other old name.
Mm-hmm. Shoot, one of the ways to challenge these people in court is, let me see here. Let me find it right quick. They're not there. No. God, where did I save it? There it is. I got this thing. It's called Answer to Complaint for Specific Performance of Contract. with affirmative defenses. So they're asking you to do specific performance, right? Well,
Yeah, and they
the fifth,
don't follow my commands for performance though either.
well, the 15th affirmative defense is worded this way: defendant is informed and believes, and on that basis alleges that title to certain properties, and then you give description of properties, are properties in which title is in doubt. Consequently, these properties cannot be transferred or be subject to any type of specific performance or constructive trust. Now, what
Can
would
you
be the
can you
properties?
wait? Can you either copy and paste that in there, or I'm. This sounds very familiar. I probably have it somewhere in all my documents, but yeah, if you can copy and paste that, I assume you're reading it.
Yeah, I was reading it. Now, what's the properties? The name. Who owns it? If the judge turns around and says, well, it's your name, well, Your Honor, I will agree with you that I own the name. Now, my next question is, who is going to pay me for the damages that has been incurred on the misuse of my name? Because, Your Honor, everyone deserves a good name. What's he going to say then? Well, I wouldn't say pay. I'd say who's going to compensate me for the damages incurred for the misuse of my good name. But you get my point. He can't say you own it. He can't admit that the state owns it, because then what? Then if the state owns it, he can't make you perform without your consent, because then it'd be a violation of the Northwest Ordinance.
I don't know why this is so hard for some. I mean, I don't know if I'd ever be comfortable saying it's not my name. And for those of us that, for the people out there that have very common names, like let's say like Chris Smith. I mean, it should be so self-obvious that that combination of ID, nomenclature,
Yeah.
it's not yours. You don't have exclusive. I mean, how many Chris Smiths are there in the world? Or just take your one name, Mike.
Well, the reason why it's so hard for people not to, that they can't get it, and it's actually normal, is their mother gave them that name. My mother wouldn't lie to me.
Yeah, or I was named after my great grandfather, who was a World War I hero, and there's such family pride in it, and I love my family name, and da da da. Man, do you know how many? The truth is, worldwide, I'm not picking on any culture. Do you know how many? No offense to the women in here, but you know how many men exist on this earth that believe their father's somebody that's not? I'd say a damn good proportion.
Well, I don't believe something my father's not. I know what my father is. He's got some
Well,
stories he could tell you. Some of them are funny. Dealing with the government. He's been interviewed on national radio over the discussion of the truth about taxes. Needless to say, the federal government did not like that discussion. My aunt asked my dad one day and said she said, the apple didn't fall far from the tree, did it? My dad turned around and said, when that apple fell, it hit the ground and stuck. He's talking about me, because I followed basically in his footsteps without realizing I was even going to do it. He got Westlaw at age 43. I got it at age 42. He studied taxes. I started studying everything. And Dad, the only thing Dad says is he tells me, Dad told me, he said, I thought I was smart studying this stuff. He said, but I have never seen anybody that can analyze and put the pieces together like you have. And he takes what I teach to other people that he meets, and he gets confirmation. He just had one of the guys he knows that's a Mason take what I'm teaching back to the lodge, and the higher ups at the lodge told him he's right on track. I said, well, isn't that interesting? And I ain't a Mason. I just thought that was interesting that they would even admit that. So yeah, they know this stuff. Has anybody else got any questions?
Yeah. How do we focus on one thing? From my perspective, this you know what? It's not even the birth certificate. That's just a goddamn piece of paper, to quote one of the Bushes there, which I agree with in many ways. But the ritual of what they do to us. Oh, we can even go back to what they do to mom when we're still in the womb and what they're sticking in her and all this these days. But putting that aside, when you come down the fallopian tube and these doctors, look up the verb tense of doctor. It's amazing how people don't even know why it's fraud.
Don't start splitting up words, playing the semantic game. Be careful, because you'll set me off.
Hey, I'm weird like that. I cross everything.
I had a discussion with someone the other day. I don't remember who it was. Oh no, it was Jesse. Me and Jesse, it got heated, and I will stand my ground on this one. The Parse syntax movement was right, and in my opinion, they took it too far. When you got words,
I can tell you how it's correct.
They're right in their proper syntax, proper grammar does matter. But but my argument with them is when you start putting prefixes on words, when a prefix never existed on that word, now you're going too far.
Agreed. And I'm going to tell you what evidence, real world evidence we have that the syntax grammar. I'm getting a feedback.
No, Jesse's trying to say something.
Oh, let me just finish. So my wife's Chinese. When I was gone, it was in China. So if you look at Chinese grammar, putting aside the fact that it's not phonetic, that it's let's call it hieroglyphic, character based, the grammar is very if you know what this syntax, quantum grammar, whatever you want to call it, that's bubkiss. See, you know what it is? It's old world grammar. That's what it is. So that's the evidence that there's a lot of truth in it. It's the old world grammar, and I'm pretty certain when you look at probably Gaelic, and which I don't, that's the grammar syntax that was proper, but then they invented this English.
I don't agree that that's why the old language doesn't matter. And I even said that. I said, look, that's why we have, what's it called, when you look up the etymology of words, where does it come from? Etymology is powerful. I agree with it. Okay? But one of the examples was the word united. They will say, the word united, O-U-N means no. And I said, well, the problem is what is ided? Ided didn't exist. united is a singular word, and you follow the etymology, and that's what I proved. I proved I was right. It didn't have a
It's
prefix.
not. I mean, that's a nice little twist. No, it's uni, meaning singular.
Yeah, and it what it means is to come together as one. Okay, so the word united never had a prefix, and this is why I say that the movement took it too far, because then they put a prefix on a word like united when there was never a prefix. Now, words that actually do have a prefix, like inalienable and unalienable, in and un, are prefixes to the word. That I can't dispute. That's a fact. Now, that I don't have a problem with. Okay? What I
What
have a
about
problem
what
with is
about
when they,
what about republican? I think you probably know what that means.
yeah, well, I understand. It had the re is a prefix, because publican is a standalone word. I don't have a problem with that. Okay?
Pub the Roman tax collector.
Yeah. See, that's when I don't have a problem. You get it? If the word has a standalone word and then a prefix is added, okay, I cannot disagree with that. That's, syntax and grammar. I've got a book from the 1800s. It's a English book, and I don't remember what grade level it said it was. And I paid like $25 or $30 for this book, and it was printed in the 1800s. And I opened the book, and one of the sections of the book is talking about syntax. I mean, that is part of proper grammar. I don't have a problem with that.
Well, no, I agree. I just yeah, some of these words they stretch it like that. Yeah, if it doesn't, I always bring up the joke. You get a lot of in the communitarian agenda for these HR whores. We get this term. Oh, he's disgruntled, and it's funny. So I just been saying, oh, I'm gruntled. You know, when people say, how you doing today? Oh, I'm gruntled. People look at me like, yeah, it's not common. Well, if disgruntled exists, well, then there must be a word called gruntled. Then there is.
The best
Yeah.
way to do it, if you're going to do something like that, look up synonyms for those words, right? Because saying that doesn't make any sense at all. I get what you're saying, but it's better just to look up a synonym and then find the word that you think sounds the best, that expresses what it is that you're trying to say.
Now, I don't have a problem with synonyms and antonyms and all that. That's all part of the English language.
See, in Harsay, and I don't really want to get all deep into this conversation, but he went all through the English language and took out all the words that did not have a positive performance. And he narrowed it down to about 800 words, right? So that he could basically construct a contract in a way, just using these words, these positive performance words, to basically, to elicit positive performance. Where, like a stop sign, how can you perform a negative action, right? So he structured it that way, and then took out all the words that had that negative connotation that didn't really mean that, and then narrowed it down to about 800 words, and then gave you and or, and then gave you prepositional phrases. And I yield.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree that some of what he said, I've said it before. I think he's right on track. I just I've expressed what part I think went too far. That's it. And it's not in every instance. It's just in certain areas, because I see people do it. Buddy of mine on TikTok, Tony Tiger, he does it for a lot of words, and I say the same thing to him. I said, you are putting a prefix or a suffix where none existed when you shouldn't have. Just like when I asked you the word united. Un isn't a prefix, because ided is not a standalone word.
Ided is not a word.
A prefix.
I don't know if that. I don't know if them using that as an example is indicative of disinfo agents or people that have just gone too far.
I think it's
Because
gone too far.
well, no, uni is I guess it's technically a prefix, just like the uni,
Yeah.
the one verse, the song, not the universe, this thing that, the uni, the verse.
Well,
Uni
is a prefix. That
Yeah,
doesn't
but
mean it is a
so is uni.
prefix. That doesn't mean it's a prefix in every instance. Just because it's at the beginning of a word doesn't always mean it's a prefix. And yeah, you're right. Uni is also a prefix. Okay. So in the word united, is it un or is it uni? Either way, that word was never meant to have a prefix. Now, when it is meant to have a prefix, it's like the word reunited. United is a standalone word. Re means to again. In other words, to become one again. That is a proper word. Okay? So I agree with 100% with using proper grammar, proper syntax. It's just not meant to be as difficult as it's made out to be.
Floyd's not wrong. The unite is actually united. They put a D at the end of it. That's all.
Yeah. But that doesn't negate the point that I'm talking about, that the letters UN is not a prefix in that example.
Right. It's not a prefix in united.
Yeah. When there is a prefix, it's because the word the part of it has a standalone word that has a specific meaning. And I don't think it's that difficult, because why? God in the Bible says, come, let us reason together. That word reason, logos, logic. Okay? It shouldn't be that difficult.
Can I add on to something, Pastor?
What?
So the syntax thing, I kind of agree with you on that. I've been going a little bit too far with it. But what you said was the repart, represent. Okay. Yes,
Yeah.
that's something we don't want them to do. We don't want them to represent us inside the case or represent the name. Okay. We want to present ourselves inside the case versus represent.
Present yourself pro se.
No pro se.
No pro se.
Yeah, pro se, you just a regular customer in there. They're gonna treat you as such.
There's 4 ways to appear in court: pro se, pro per. Don't ever do those. If the judge tries to pick it to you, don't be either one. If the judge tries to appoint that to you, well, it's my understanding, Your Honor. Are you trying to call me names? Hey, Popeye says do this, and I agree with Popeye. I tell you not to call people names. To me, it should be that simple in court. I'm not a pro se. I'm not a pro per. If you're going to be anything, it's in propria persona, in my proper person, or sui juris. Don't let them define who you are.
Yeah, I wouldn't even agree with that either. So I wouldn't be those titles either. Because if you look,
person,
yeah,
if you one of the highest ways to come in, because you're coming in as yourself. Yeah,
you still coming in there as they say, pro se or in persona, all that stuff. The thing is that it tell you 2 reasons on how you can come inside the courtroom. You can come in there generally, or you come in there specially. Okay, that's it. If you create something outside of those 2 different things, they're going to treat you as a regular customer. Okay. Now, if you come in there generally, or you say you're in there for improper persona, or sui juris, or authorized representative, third party beneficiary, intervener, did all those things. When you do those things, you in there as a regular customer. I promise you. What just pay attention to the YouTube videos out there. They get treated the same. But when you come in as special and you act special, it's a whole different ball game in there. You just watch how it just blow out. It's amazing.
You're right about that. I mix it up, but I've stuck with. Hey, I've told them I'm the only living man here apparently. So
Yeah.
I said, yeah, I'm here, man. I'm here under duress. I say under special invitation because I don't like to use appearance. That's their word.
Yeah,
I
they
say,
don't understand those words. You got to understand, they understand legal lease, okay? So you speaking something outside of their legal lease language, they're going to think you crazy or insane or some sovereign citizen automatically. Okay?
Actually, I don't even get into the term legalese no more because why? It's all contract. As
Yeah.
as your knowledge grows and you
Mhm.
start adapting your language accordingly, you're not speaking their legalese.
You're
You're
speaking their
learning
legal
how
lease.
to no, you're learning how to speak your contract.
Yeah, that's
It's
dealing
all
with their legal
contract.
lease. That's their legal lease. Their contract is legal contracts
I
with
didn't
their
say
legal lease word.
their contract. That's what you missed. I didn't say their contract. I
Who
said you
contract is
learn
it?
to speak your contract.
When you speak in contract to them, contract law with them, you using their legal lease words and terms from their books. Period. You didn't
Yeah,
make
because
none of
that
that
way,
up. They already wrote
yeah,
it. Law is
yeah.
already established.
But see, I'll tell you an example. Mike
Mm-hmm.
Slosser, he's a top attorney and retired in North Carolina. Was having a conversation one day. He asked me, he said, "How good do you think you are at contracts?" I said, "Mike, everything's a contract." And I said, it don't matter to me if it's a civil case or a criminal case." And he said, "I don't agree with that." And I said, "Really, Mike? You don't?" I said, "When you was a defense attorney and the judge asked you questions, did you presume to know what he meant? Or did you ever ask him to define the words?" And then the look on his face was priceless. He got what I was saying. He started teaching his attorney buddies what I was teaching him. And so that's why I said what I said. No, it's just language. It's not got a certain title. It's just language. You are learning how to speak your contract. You know what
So
those words mean. They don't
exactly. See, I know
necessarily know.
what he's saying. I know
There's
what
a
he's saying.
difference.
Listen, if you look at a contract that's been written by one of these esquires, and that other guy, he's correct. But that's their nonsense, okay? You and I, as living men, living in the private, whatever you want to call it, man to man, male, female, man, our contracts, you need your house painted, man, it can be eye to eye handshake, or it could be a simple 2-paragraph, written on a goddamn napkin, toilet paper. So
Yeah,
this shit, you stop thinking like that. I know what he's saying. Contracts, look up the definition. You're right and you're wrong, man. Just do contracts the manly way and forget this drivel. Anybody ever read these terms of services? They always keep changing. Oh, your terms and these attorneys, they're just, what are they doing? Oh, we changed a couple words in your TOS.
Let me tell you why judges and attorneys interpret the law. I'll tell you why. Because no one, if you go look up a term on Google, look up bill drafting manual. Okay. Now, let's see. Bill drafting manual. The first link is NCSL. I don't know what NCSL stands for right now. Let's see here.
National
It
Conference
is
of Legislators.
something like that. Yeah. But here, I'm going to share it in the group. The reason they're interpreting it, I had to pay $85 to get my state's manual. Why? It's not listed in this link on this page. Most of the states are listed. You want to know how to interpret law? Read that book. That book tells you what the grammar is. This is another reason why I say the syntax grammar people took it too far. This is the book on grammar for the state laws. You want to get to where you can write better than attorneys and outright the judges, read that book. You start writing your briefs like that.
Wait. When you say that book, wait, you got to slow down here because I'm looking at it.
Your state's bill
Mine's not available.
drafting manual. Okay. So you have to go. What state you in?
I'm in New York. It says not available, but I got to imagine that they're
okay.
I got to imagine that the states that are available, they've got to be probably 90, if not close to 100% similar.
Yes. Now, mine, North Carolina's not listed. I paid an organization in North Carolina. They're kind of like a runner. Okay. If you need something from the law library or the legislative library, you contact them. They will go into the library and print off the documents for you. Okay. And he called me. He said, $85. I said, okay.
I got to interject here.
So, but in the book, hold on. Yep. You know how in the movement you heard people say the word may in law means will? I used to say that. I look in Black's Law Dictionary. Black's Law Dictionary says that. But when I got the North Carolina Bill Drafting Manual and it explained the word may, it don't mean will.
Indeed, it does not.
Not in the statutes or codes. So if you want to hold these people's feet to the fire, learn how to read their stuff. Quit making presumptions.
Listen, may and shall, those are suggestive, and it's always in the future. So if you get a citation, you could always argue, oh, you shall appear in court. Well, yeah, I shall. Tomorrow.
May in the law dictionary means may or may not. Okay?
Yeah. Now,
what it mean?
In the bill drafting manual, the first word in that section that talks about words and phrases, the word shall is explained. That was the very first word in the North Carolina Bill Drafting Manual. And it says in the statutes, try to avoid the word shall. Why? Because of what you just said. And they explained it that way. Because when you use the word shall, it's future tense. So that means the code would never apply at the time. It's always in the future.
Preach it, Pastor.
You know something about this page you just sent us? A lot of people talk about, the U.S. only exists in Washington, D.C., There's actually a place that another U.S. exists. You know where that is?
Where?
New York City. And if you go down on this page, New York is not here. We have New York City. And if you look at the New York State Penal Code, you'll see almost every code and statute says something, except New York City, except New York City, except New York City. And New York City has their own birth certificate. So New York City is the Dutch East India Company, and that's the Bank of New York. And that's why you walk into a New York courtroom and you see the New York City police chief. They got an orange and white and blue flag with a little Dutch boy and a windmill and an Indian on the other side. That is the Dutch East India Company, and they have another stylization of the United States as well. A lot of people don't even know that one. It's amazing.
Yeah, everything. Oh, let me say this right quick, Pastor. Everything starts in New York. From COVID-19 to 1933, all that stuff started in New York. Okay. Then this goes back to when I said the Constitution is suspended. It's 3 United States. And 2 of those United States, the Constitution is suspended. One of those United States is not suspended. And that's in America. And that's why.
Philadelphia.
Huh?
From what I gather, that would be Philadelphia.
Do you know that there is only one King's Bench in the country?
In what country?
In the United States, the 50 states, there's only one King's Bench, and it's a chancery court. Where do you think it's at?
Philadelphia.
That's right.
In Delaware. There's one in Delaware too. It's one in
There's
Tennessee too.
one in Washington as well.
Yeah, it's Chancery Court. And this the crazy part. Those ain't the only chancery courts. Probate court is chancery courts.
Yes,
Family court.
There's 42.
There's a couple of Queen's benches around the country, but the only King's Bench I have found, because I went to Westlaw and looked it up, is in Philadelphia. Now, what was originally in Philadelphia? The United States Capitol.
But they also keep the Liberty Bell there, and they broke it. Okay.
That was
I
a
just
contract,
looked this up
right?
last night.
Do what, Jane?
I just looked this up last night. I live in Washington State. Yeah, and there's 42. There's 42 in the United States chancellors, chancery courts.
Yeah.
And one of them is in Olympia, and it's a man. And so they're listed. If you look hard enough, it is to the glory of a king to search a matter out. You'll find that there is more than one.
More than one King's Bench?
Correct. More than one chancery court.
Oh, yeah, there's more than one chancery court. I never said there wasn't. But I've only found that there's one that's called the King's Bench, and that's in Philadelphia.
Would you mind sending me that, Pastor?
I'd have to go find it, but yeah, I can send it to you. I've got it in my email.
Thank you, dear. I appreciate you.
Post
You're
that
welcome.
in the chat for everybody to see, Pastor. I would appreciate it too. Thank you.
You know what the word bench mean in the law, right?
That's where I was going with that.
Talk to me, Pastor. Talk to me, brother. Okay. It's the big bank. The bench is the bank. Yes, the bench is the bank. The judge is the banker. That's why you can't go inside of his house and telling him his laws. You'll be a fool to do it. And that's a maxim. The maxim says that the law, the judge is the law, is the mouthpiece of the law. The judge is the mouthpiece of the law. That's a maxim. He interprets the law. That's why when people come in there with their stuff, we chop them up every time. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Pastor. Go ahead.
Yeah, it wasn't. I didn't get it off of Westlaw. I was mistaken. But the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania is the King's Bench.
That's the Chancery Court, Supreme Court of Chancery.
Question: if one does not consent to settle matters at hand in an adversarial manner, I don't consent. And if you want to keep pushing these matters, don't you have a right to be in a equity or Article 3 or Chancery or any of these sort of things? I mean, they can't.
You can't not consent to settling the matter.
Right. I never said no. Say what?
You can't argue the public debt.
Right.
Okay. So your job as the authorized representative is to settle the matter. The problem is the people don't realize that they're dealing with a bank and not a court. The GSA bonds and the W-4s actually go together in a court case, but you don't hear very many people talking about that.
Oh, I've got
the
that.
first. I've actually, to my knowledge, I was the first one started bringing that up when I talked to Wesley Keith Mullins, because we were talking about the GSA bonds, and the value of the GSA bonds, according to the regulation I've got in my notes, can be valued at 20% of 15 million, which means 3 million a piece. And then you turn around and do the W-4s for $9 million.
Yeah, I just did the W. Oh, the. So by the way, I mostly do my registered mailing tax per queue, and I usually have a success. But then I tried to send one off to these court cases, and that's the
Don't
first
do tax
one
per
that
queue.
Say what?
Don't do tax per queue.
Man, I'm broke. They've been broke. I can't spend no $50-$60 on my mailings right now.
You
I
don't
had to
need to
stop
spend
driving a
50,
truck.
$60.
Yeah,
No,
they usually cost $11-$12 each.
You only need to send one registered mail, and that's to the judge, restricted delivery. That's the original copies of the GSA bonds. Then you turn around, and you can do things cheaper. The presentment is the petition. That's the negotiable instrument. If you are the registered agent, what are you supposed to do? Notify the principal. Who's the principal?
trustee.
The trustees or the beneficiaries, which means
You
what?
say that the one should be the clerk, or you said judge, but I would.
The GSA bonds goes one to privately registered mail, restricted delivery to the judge. Okay. Then you send a copy, certified mail, to risk management. Now that might require you to make a phone call and play dumb and call the county executive office and say, yes, I'm looking at writing a contract and I need to send it to risk management because I'm looking at some business opportunities in your county. Can you please tell me how to contact and who the agent is for risk management? I do that all the time.
Me too. I mean, people don't know how. People always try to get
information.
People try to get the W-9 from their court or whatever, especially in court. I call up the financial office. I say, hey, we're a service contractor. My CPA says something changed a year ago, and we need to include your W-9 number, your EIN on our invoices. Can I get that from you? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, no problem. See, there's more than one way to skin a cat to get them to give you what they need, what you need. And they will give it to you. I've got freaking 3 courts EINs already. Now, you send a copy to risk management in the name of the agent. You send a copy to the county executive.
Wait. I mean, slow down. Because maybe somebody has a case in a state Supreme Court or a U.S. So
then who's the county executive for the state Supreme Court? Well, it's the state executive.
But what I'm saying is
the governor.
Okay, so I have a court case in the District of Columbia, which isn't even it is what it is. So I send one to the judge and my county executive. I'm in New York.
No, the county executive for the county the court's in. That's where the constructive trust is at. Okay. Then you send a copy to the Lieutenant General at the Army Corps of Engineers. Okay. And then you send a copy to GSA. Because all GSA bonds have to return to GSA.
And they really need to be on like bonded paper? Is that or even like a...
No, but I'm not going to use cheap 20-pound paper. I might use 24-pound paper.
What about Robin Blue card, that's equity. A lot of people would say that
No, I
Robert.
don't buy into all that.
Yeah,
Only
I-
time I'm going to only time I'm going to worry about that is if I'm issuing promissory notes and or securities. Then I'm going to buy the security paper. And the security paper is typically colored. Like you can buy 500 sheets on Amazon, and it's like a light blue. But when it comes to the GSA bonds, no, I just use 20-pound white paper. Now, the
working on.
reason
Has that been
Huh?
working? Has that been working for you to
I did the GSA bonds on a family court case.
I can contest.
Yeah,
You know what the judge said to me yesterday? Because
you can
I
actually verify that.
he says I can't send so they want to keep an attorney on me, and I'm like,
Brilliant. That's what he said. What?
he said, oh, you can't send IRS documents to people. And I'm saying, wait a minute. So,
Your Honor, can you please show me that in the law? Are you
yeah.
not operating
Well, then
as a bank
he
with a cage code, EIN,
said-
and a DUNS number?
Yeah, well, he said. Then he said, I just want to warn you, you can get in big trouble if you start leaning people. You know what? I agree with that. I don't think it's a good idea to lean judges because, man, especially a local county judge, they got local sheriffs and they will F you up.
Let me tell you this. You're talking about the office. You can't lean the office. Can you lean the man?
Yes.
My buddy Mark in Minnesota freaks out the judge and DA when they mess with him. Because he's got a people search account. He pays $20 a month. And he finds the judge's real name and address for his house, the DA's real name and address for his house, and he sends them an invoice in the mail for the violation of his property. Because what is property? It's rights and interest. He sends them an invoice to their house in their name. Freaks them out.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. When my January 6th case started, and I sent him a release of power attorneys, and they still don't obey that. But I sent him I just sent him a fee schedule, and you know what? It was a copy and paste one, and they used the media to discredit my name. January 6th defendant demands millions of dollars. And I'm thinking these people are so stupid. I'm going to have to use that because a goddamn fee schedule. Okay, this is how I tell people what a fee schedule is. Imagine you walk into a restaurant, okay? You walk into my restaurant. You sit down at one of my tables, okay?
Yeah,
What do we
menu
do?
is a fee schedule.
Damn straight. So you got, just because you sat at my table and maybe I gave you some water with lemon in it, right?
Yeah,
And
I
said, how
can't
do you?
disagree with them on the fee schedule, though. And here's what you didn't do. It's either a terms of service or a conditional acceptance in the form of a terms of service.
Yeah, I know. You're right. But what I wanted to finish saying is it does scare them, even that, because they use the media to say I'm demanding. So they took a menu. So what I was going to say, it's like just because you sit at a restaurant, you sit down at my restaurant's table, look at the menu. I can't start charging you stuff. You got three options. You accept the offer as is. You don't take it, say it's too expensive, or maybe you want to be a cheapskate and you negotiate a different price or whatever. Three options.
Yeah. But no, your terms of service, you want to remain in honor at all costs. Yeah, terms of service. I will be more than happy to perform certain services. But since the Northwest Ordinance, or otherwise known as the Ordinance of 1787, is still the law of the land and forbids slavery and involuntary servitude, and I have a right to have a good name, and your body is your real estate, your property, according to the Bible, that I will be more than happy to perform whatever services for the trust that is required at a $50,000 retainer paid up front with this much per hour for each day I have to perform said services.
Hey, Pastor, you know what I'm thinking? I think between my birth certificate name and if they really wanted to, I think I've got them. Am I being stupid showing up for their Zoom? I've been meditating on it and praying on it, and everything tells me that they can't do jack shit to me, and I'm being dumb showing up on Zoom in the first place.
No, I don't think you're being dumb. Because appearing, as long as you can record everything, one gives you the option to object to every single word and everything they say. When the DA goes to speak before the sentence is done, objection. You're
Well,
on.
I've recorded all the Zooms, even though they try to say, "Oh, it's unlawful." Yeah, really? Where's the code and statute? Where's that? It's unlawful because you said so. And by the way, how do you know I don't have a freaking photographic memory and I have Elon Musk technology that actually takes memory out of my brain and eyes and actually records it? Is that record terms and definitions, morons? And yeah, it's illegal to record it. Yeah, really? Don't buy that shit, by the way. If anybody's doing Zoom, you record that shit.
So if we got to remain in honor.
Go ahead.
So if we need to remain in honor, did you give them an opportunity to cure or remedy?
You can't give them an opportunity to
cure
remedy
until
you actually give them your first response. First, you got
I'm asking Eric. Did you?
Oh, him. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Say again. So did I give? I forgot because go ahead. Can you just repeat again?
So what I was asking was, did you give them an opportunity to remedy or cure? So we're supposed to be coming in exclusive equity, right? That's what, we are the light unto the nation, the lampstand set on a hill. Okay, so we're supposed to bring that with us when we come, no matter where we're at. Did you give them an opportunity to remedy or cure the wrong that's been done?
Yes, I've written a private letter to the judge, which was blocked by the clerk of the court, of course. I've said it verbally. Well, I told him. I said that I told him yesterday. I guess I'm in the wrong court. I said, listen, I come in honor. And by the way, no, I don't use remedy. Remedies Article 1, Article 2, whatever you want to talk about. I say I either settle these matters in equity or I'm seeking relief.
Okay, now let me tell you why the judge is the wrong person. The judge is a neutral party. Okay? The judge isn't who you are to write it to. You have an adversary. Who's the adversary?
Prosecutor.
No, the prosecutor is just an agent for the adversary.
So
he's prosecuting the case in the name of the United States.
Yeah, the government on this.
Secretary of State?
So who's the complaining party?
I guess it would be the secretary. I don't know. Michael Blinken? I don't know.
General.
See, these are the questions you see under the 6th Amendment of the Constitution, Your Honor. I have a right to face my accuser. Who is my accuser? Right.
United States of it's funny. How do these people have the balls to use United States of America when it's the United States? It's fiction right there on the face of it. Lies and omission. Errors and omissions.
No. The United States is a legal entity under the 14th Amendment.
They're using United States. They're using United States of America, but they're not. They're the United States.
Yeah, but you got to get that specified on the record. There's 3 different United States. You got the United States, the 50 States United. Then you've got the United States of America, which is D.C., its insular possessions and territories. Then you've got the United States under 28-3002, paragraph 15A, which is a federal corporation. And in what name are they coming in as? If they are coming in under the corporation, then you need to study Chapter 176 of Title 28, because then they're coming in as a debt collector. They're not always a corporation, but when they are coming in as a debt collector, they are. And Chapter 176 is the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. These are the procedures the judges have to follow. For example, Title 15 does not apply to the IRS. Why? 14th Amendment, you cannot argue the public debt. But Chapter 176 of Title 28 does apply. So the question is which, under which code is the United States gaining its authority?
Well, these
Is it
fuck
the
sticks
50
and
states?
these fuck sticks. Every time I go into Zoom, the deputy, she's like United States versus Eric, blah blah blah, and then they say, but then their header says United States of. I mean, these people are just. It's just, and I kind of yelled at the judge yesterday. Oh, and he tried to pull another psych eval. I said, you know what? You've tried that 2 times already. I said, you know what? I've got a conditional offer of acceptance. I said, I'm ready to go to a freaking psych eval as long as the prosecutor's ready as well.
Now, when he does a psych eval, I said, Your Honor, I will be more than happy to accept your psych eval, but would you want someone that knows me? Because some person that doesn't know me, how are they going to be able to testify to my competence? That's all subjective. I said, I'll agree. Do you want my mother or my father?
Well, the problem is they tried it 2 times, so that first public pretender, which I got his record. We don't have a contract. Go to standby counsel. Anybody know about this standby counsel? Because I said I put that.
Use him. Use his asses. If he's standby counsel, great. Tell you why. Now you got somebody the judge can deal directly with when filing papers. You just don't want him speaking for you.
But they have.
Your Honor.
That's a good. I mean,
Your Honor, my standby counsel is interfering with my First Amendment right to free speech.
None of them have dared to do it when I've been face to face with the judge on Zoom. But I've looked at their little pacer, and I've seen things on there. So I asked them for and then I asked the judge yesterday for the what do you call it? Something, the registry, and the judge. Oh, I don't know what that is. You mean the docket? I said no. I'm not talking about the docket. You know what I'm talking about.
The court registry investment system.
Well, he pretended he didn't know anything about that. He actually, you know what? I got him on video saying, "I don't know what sui juris means. This is a U.S. district."
He don't know what it means.
No, they're lying. Brother, Hamilton, they know.
They don't know what that stuff means.
Bullshit.
They don't know what it means because it don't have no standing in their courtroom. It's proven. Read the law book. It don't have no standing. Period.
Doesn't say.
Try it again. Say it again.
Doesn't say whether.
Listen, what you're missing. There's a dirty little secret.
What?
Hey, let me fit. No.
What I'm trying to.
They do know.
What
I'm trying to tell you a dirty secret. These people go to law school. Right. They go to law school. They become esquires. They do whatever.
Okay.
You know. But then once they become a judge, and I'm not talking about some podunk town. I'm talking about at least county and upwards. They have a judge school. They
the
know
Federal Judicial Center. The Federal Judicial Center is the one that admits the birth certificate's a registered organization. That video's on YouTube. Bankruptcy and Revised Article 9, Part 1 at the 43-minute mark. The Federal Judicial Center teaches these judges all of this stuff. They know, Hamilton. They just don't want to admit it.
They don't have an idea.
You know what Judge School 101 is? The first time you go into class is they teach you, stick with that, do you understand? That's what those judges, that's like Judge School 101.
I mean, they got their own freaking chat rooms that they communicate to other judges. When you make a certain argument and they don't know how to respond, you'll see them take a recess and they will get on their freaking message board. What do I do in this situation?
Hey, I'm going to share the video. You know what? On my, I don't know if he was being called into court like a dog, but there was a strobe light going off in his room, and he kept looking at his computer. Yeah, there was literally a fire alarm going off in his room.
But no, you got to learn how to respond to them. If they won't let you speak, that's where you pull the First Amendment out. Are you interfering with my right to my First Amendment right to freedom of speech? What's the
his
judge
eyes
going to
bugged.
say?
His eyes bugged. Yesterday was the first time I said, Judge, you're stepping down from the bench. You've been doing. I said, you know, I'm sorry with all due respect, but you've been doing this, and you know, you're a nice guy and you're polite and you're soft like I am. But I said, you've been stepping down from the bench and you're prosecuting from the bench. His eyes looked at his computer. Fuck these motherfuckers. You know what? I like the guy. This is how I look at him. He's probably a nice guy to go and have a beer with or something. But like most people, whether you're an insurance agent or a career, look up the word career, go down a road uncontrolled, by the way. We're living in an era that's crashing down, and most people, and I'm talking, I don't care, you work at McDonald's or you're a high-level judge or an insurance agency, we live in a world where mankind has been trained like dogs by this system, including him. So I forgive him. I don't hate him, but I'm not going to let him freaking lie. I almost feel bad for him. I do.
I understand. Hey, I learned a few years back, judges are trapped in a system just like everybody else. When I had my first ticket for missing mud flap, I went to traffic court, and traffic court started off like this. You can plead guilty, not guilty, or no contest. And if you have an attorney, your attorney will speak for you. But if you do not, you have a procedural question, please ask. So I knew the first half of what that judge said, he was lying. That ain't all you can do. So about halfway through everybody there, he calls me up. And there's no DA. It's just the state trooper. And the state trooper starts telling the story. I said, hold up. This is what you said. He said, oh, you got a question. I said, yes, sir. Now, looking back on what I said, the judge actually answered correctly. I just didn't like his answer. I asked him, I said, we need to establish the rules of this court. Can you please, for the record, tell me what jurisdiction we're operating in? And at the time, I didn't ask the question right, but he did answer the question. He said, Dinwiddie County, Virginia, the United States. And I said, well, Your Honor, being your school in law, that doesn't establish jurisdiction in this court. And I hold up the ticket and I said, it's not a criminal matter because there's no grand jury indictment. He said, you're correct. I said, so the way I see it, it's a contract. Oh, no, it's not no contract. Well, I presume it is, and I see constructive fraud. As soon as I said that, he slams the gavel down. He said, that's some law done away with 50 years ago, $50 fine, you can appeal it within 10 days. He had to shut me up. And so I walked right out to the clerk, said, I want to appeal his decision. He didn't know that 3-inch stack of paper I had in my pocket that I had in my hand, almost all of it come off of Westlaw. He didn't know that. So we set a trial date. I go to trial. And they saw me coming. About halfway through everybody there, they call my name. And the DA gets up, some lady that's fresh out of law school. She don't look no older than about 25. And she says, the state of Virginia moves to dismiss this upon payment of costs. All I said was, I'll appeal it. And the judge says, what arguments are you going to make? I said, constitutional arguments. He says, can I get everybody done first? I smiled at him and said, yes, sir, you may. Get everybody done, get everybody out, calls me back up. And I had that stack of papers with me. And he says, and so I start laying out my argument. I laid out the section of the FMCSA that lays out the terms of the contract for the states to get highway funds. This is all they're obligated to do. They can go no higher than this. And under the supremacy clause, the FMCSA regulations are the highest law because this is a federally regulated industry. I said the Virginia statute or code is overreaching and overbroad, which are constitutional principles. They don't have the authority to write tickets. And I said, and on top of that, if you read the code, the way it's worded, he should have put me out of service, which he did not. So either I can presume it's void for vagueness, because if he'd have understood it, he would have put me out of service, and he didn't. So if he's the law enforcement officer, how do you comment?
You're chopping.
And he
You're
said,
chopping.
yes. So
Nah, we're missing you, Pastor.
Can you hear me now?
No, it's getting better. Do a test. No, you're completely gone. Anybody else hear it? No, can't be.
Sorry, Eric. I got a phone call. I missed what you had said.
Oh shit. Have I? Yeah, I've sent. Since Pastor cut out. Yeah, I always speak. Listen, like Pastor he was saying something where he's going to argue. See, I tell these people, I'm not going to. Again, I come in peace.
I think we're fixed
I come
now.
in peace. Now you're good. Yeah. So let me just answer her question. You can go back to. We lost probably 2 minutes of you there. Listen, I tell these people all the time, man. If I haven't harmed anybody, man, if I harm somebody, then throw the book at me or whatever, whatever you want to call it. But I come in peace. I know what's going on here. This is all about commerce. It's trust.
I would never say that. I can't believe you'd say that. Eric, come on now. Our Father who art in heaven, he gives us mercy and grace. When you harm somebody, you come as an honorable man and you say, I want to provide remedy to that. And I plead mercy on the court. Not throw the book at you, dude.
Well, no, you're right. Because you know what? Listen, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. I know just for the record, the Bible and my intuition tells me that the idea of prisons is an abomination. Actually, the Bible does state, and if you look at the Bible as a law book, the Bible does state that, quote unquote, slavery is just, but for only a specific time. So, for example, if I actually cause, for an example, let's say I'm a teenager and I do rinky dinks on your lawn because, it's shits and giggles, and I mess up your garden. Obviously, I've messed up your property, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now you owe a debt.
Yes, and I need to make restitution, and I need to apologize, and I need to all that. So now, if I'm a teenager that's a podunk, broke-ass trailer trash, and I literally don't have the, gold bullion or U.S.
promissory
Reserve
notes.
Right. I don't listen. So what you have a right to do is say, okay, I get it. You got no money. You got no gold coins, silver coins. I got it. So what you're going to do here, Eric, is you're going to work it off as my slave for X amount of time, and then we're all good to go. And I hope you learn your lesson. Okay, son? Yes, sir. That's the world we're supposed to be living in. Prisons are an abomination.
No, they're not. Prisons was where now the original use of prisons was where we got that idea from. Was that right there that you said? The problem is since 33, the government has turned them into financial institutions to make money off the backs of people.
Oh, you're missing something there. So wait, I still don't. No. Again, put it in a man-to-man situation, male-female, okay? When I say, by the way, for the females on here, when I say man-to-man, please don't take...
Anyway, we know what you mean,
know,
mankind to mankind.
All right. Yeah. So, no, again, in the context I put it, if I as a teenager, do some dumbass shit to your property, I still don't see where the brick and mortar, quote unquote, prison comes into play between you and I.
It's called paying your debt to society, because the average person is agreeing to be part of their society, and the United States is bankrupt, and the United States is providing everything.
Yeah, see, I don't do, see, now when you go back to the public cesspool, the public pool, the public trust, the tertium quid, the birth certificate, I reject that. There's no such thing as society. And you can call me crazy, but there's you, there's me, and then there's this thing called the universe. So again, I go back to the context of, teenager Eric messed up your property. And the way it should work is you should go knock on my dad's door and say, hey, your son did this. Beat the living, give him a good whooping.
I didn't say our society. I said their society. There was a guy that had a ticket one time. He walked into court. Everybody in the courtroom watched this proceeding. Judge asked him, do you understand the charges? He said, nope, I'm an idiot. Oh, you're an idiot? Yep.
I've heard that as well. Does that really work? Does that work? It
worked. Supposedly it worked in his case, because if you look up the word idiot on the etymology of the word, it doesn't mean just stupid person. It also means not professional, not part of your society. And when he did that, the judge was standing up by this time, and he said, get out of my courthouse. He said, get out of my court. As a matter of fact, get out of my courthouse. Are there any more idiots in this room? Nobody stood up.
A lot of documents I write, and I suggest people, if you want to take command of the documents, don't do all this affiant shit. I mean, if you want to do it, that's your will. But I try to write I as author with a capital A. And I'm sure a lot of people can continue the word author and why you use that.
There's many ways you can do it. You can do I in your first name, because your first name is your private name. The family name and middle name.
What I'm saying is I use the term, I write as author. I'm not affiant or respondee or defend. What I write stuff as author. In fact, the judge, he brought up, well, Eric, you're using the word Levites, and I don't know what you're talking about, and you're using Alpha and Omega here, and he's playing stupid. Because I wrote him this thing, and he saw it, he read it. I know he liked it, but he's sitting there pretending that he doesn't understand it. So back to the other guy, yeah, they don't understand. Yeah, but the motherfucker read it, and he read it on the record.
When he says he don't understand, says, Your Honor, is there a Bible in this court? Do people swear on the Bible when they testify? What's he going to say? Yes. He said, so you don't understand that in that Bible that you swear to? You don't understand that?
They don't understand that because
anybody that goes to trial puts their hand on the Bible and says, let's see, what is it? Number one, you put your hand on the Bible and you swear on a book that says you're not supposed to swear. And number two, this is where you're going to perjure yourself and make yourself look like a goddamn retard and a belligerent.
That's true. That's true.
That's true. To tell the truth. That's okay. I swear to tell the truth. It's a good start. The whole truth? I don't know. I'd have never met a man or woman on this earth that knows the whole truth. So if
Brother,
you're going to say that,
let me say this right quick. Okay, the reason why I say that they don't know what you're talking about is because 9 out of 10 people that come in that courtroom follow those customs. So you, out of the 1 that don't follow those customs after 9 of the 10, you're gonna be tested the most. Okay, so when you
good.
trying to stand on your square, when you trying to stand on your square, and you start going into some other stuff, and it's not about this case, that's when they chop you. It happens all the time. They shoot everybody
yeah,
with the same bullet. You just heard
but the
Pastor say.
judges,
He said
but the
he cleared
judges
everybody.
still, they do understand it.
Look,
They just
they
can't admit they understand it.
their job is to keep on contracting with you, to keep you in their realm of statutory jurisdiction of you arguing the facts. That's their job to do. So just like Pastor said, they chopped all the rest of them, but kept him last. Okay? Now that's the same people that swear on the oath to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God. So they chop all them, and they say that last one for to deal with them last. Okay? That's how it is. A custom.
You know what? I listen. You know what? Part of me wants to say, hey, let's go to trial in D.C. over this January 6th, because I know a lot of people, they'll put you at the last thing. They're going to bluff, and you'll show up there. You've done the right things, and they've trapped you in certain ways, and you fucked up like I have. But I've always kept it there. I'm kind of being stupid. But I've heard many cases where you'll show up, they close the courthouse, or they put you on the last one, and you walk, the doors are locked. They're like, oh, yeah, it's been dismissed.
Yeah. Right now, because of the political climate, they're going to drag you along as long as they can to try to break your spirit.
Process.
Look at who they're demonizing. They're demonizing Trump. Because why? They're afraid he's going to run for president again. That's why they're not talking about COVID. That's why they're running you through the ringer. That's why they're doing everything they're doing. You are trapped in politics right now.
And that's what pisses me off, because I detest pop. The reason one of the many reasons I went to D.C., well, one, it was nice to be around Trump supporters, because at least most weren't wearing the goddamn muzzle, so that was nice.
No,
but I wanted to talk to these people. I wanted to talk to them and explain that, no, in fact, the election wasn't stolen. You don't know how it works. And what the hell is wrong with you? You call yourself a Christian and you're idolizing a man? And and then I wanted to talk. That's all I wanted to do. And then also what happened is I identified agent provocateurs, and my dumbass, as an independent journalist, an ex-Marine, and a pretty agile motherfucker, chased in the Buffalo Soldier and recorded the back scenes of the famous scene. That's what I did. And guess what? You know what's ironic? I'm going to tell you that all these right-wing people like Stu Peters and all these Alex Jones telling you that there's a gulag, there ain't no such thing. I'm
Alex
sorry.
Jones, don't get me started on him. That man right
Listen,
there
as
just
bad as
sold
the system
everybody out.
Listen, what I'm trying to say is, here's what's happening with January 6th. There's no American gulag. They're not because okay, so this is what I think. So you're gonna tell me that patriots got arrested over January 6th and they've been locked up in a DC jail being tortured, but in between torture sessions, their jailers allow them to call into Alex Jones or Stu Peters to tell us how bad it is? Something don't add up here, Waldo. If you're in a gulag, you're in a gulag.
Well, let me tell you this about Alex Jones. I used to listen to him. Does he tell a lot of truth? Yes. Did he say Sandy Hook was staged? Yes. Do I believe it was staged? Absolutely. Okay. But you know the one person the media never talks about that also got sued by those quote-unquote families? Wolfgang Halbig. You know what Wolfgang Halbig did? He did. He petitioned the court for a deposition of the families. The court
Listen, no,
agreed.
my point. What I'm saying is,
And you know what they
Alex,
did? They did. Hold on. You know what they did? They dismissed Wolfgang's case.
there's no case with Alex Jones right now over Sandy Hook. This is part of listen, I didn't follow it, but the whole Johnny Depp thing, I'm going to tell you what that was about. And I didn't follow it. I know what it was about. Listen, all these famous cases going back to OJ and all these things, they're fake. They're Hollywood productions. Johnny Depp and whatever the woman, I'm telling you what it's about. It was about scaring the public into being careful what you say on Twitter, because it can come back 20 years later.
That's what I'm getting at with Alex. He has sold out the people, and he's playing a part to what? Keep the divide going.
I'm going to tell you exactly, because my mother exhibited it perfectly. She knows what I'm going through. She's concerned. And it's wearing her down, and that's shit that pisses me off. But it is what it is. We're all going through shit in this world. So I don't boo-hoo on myself. But my mother came down the other day. She's like, I'm so worried about you. You're going to end up like Alex Jones. And I said, bam, and there is the psyops intention.
Yep. I quit listening to Alex after I tried to get a family court judge investigated. And I was in communication with David Knight at the time. And I said, I've got 8 families wanting to speak with you over this judge. They would never. Gigi Ernetta is the only one that did a story on this judge, and Alex got rid of her. David Knight would not even talk to these families. And when that judge ordered a 2-year-old boy to go live with his mother, he was dead a few months later because the judge gave the kid to the abusers. And I told David Knight, I said, that boy's blood is on your hands.
Hey, so David Knight, I always liked him. He left Alex Jones do you still think he's good or what? Because I was always like,
I think Alex would not allow them to touch family court. Do I think he's good? Probably is. I think Alex wouldn't allow it. Because Gigi Ernetta did a story on this judge, and she went and did her own research because of me. And she found a story where this guy is living in Croatia. He can't be extradited, and that he feared for his life is why he left. He was at a hospital. What?
I'm going to go deeper in this. I'm gonna use a lawyer term. I presume that you are familiar with a man and a name called Winston Shrout.
Never followed him, but yeah.
So he's old school.
Yep, old school.
One of the let's call him one of the founders of this whatever it is that we're doing here.
No, he's the middle ground, but yeah. Oh, I found out the other day this movement goes back way back.
Okay, so if you look on the internet, you'll find claims that he was locked up in federal prison. Okay, good. Well, considering that I have evidence that the DOJ says a name that looks like mine from a town that does not exist in New York, pled guilty. Okay, so they can pretty much invent stuff under the Smith-Mundt Act legally.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So what if you actually get to a point going through this system, let's say somebody like Winston Shrout, and they say, hey, Winston, it's the Truman Show. Here's your exit stage right. Sign this NDAA. Here you have full access to the trust, but basically you're in witness, you're gone. I think there's something like that.
You're not wrong. You are not wrong. If you ever get to that point and you violate those NDAAs, let's just say they found one woman in her freezer.
That's what I'm saying. So if you do this rabbit hole stuff, my intuition tells me that the system comes along and says, hey John Doe, congratulations, you put up a good fight. Put it in game theory. You're leveling up, but we're going to write this little digital record that says you're in a federal penitentiary. It has to work that way. I mean, if I was running the system, that's the way I would run it.
Well,
To be honest.
it's not always that way. But for example, the rumor is this lady just mysteriously came into $7 billion and has never had money. She got drunk at a party. People started asking, how'd you get all this money? And she was drunk and started talking. And then a little while later, they found her in a freezer.
By the way, a little background. My time in Shanghai, China, when I was lost at sea with the old name, I used to hang out in it was called the Marine Corps Bar. So in China, a lot of people, a lot of dumb Americans, when I say, oh, you lived in you're 11 years in China. What, in the service? I'm like, Jesus Christ, Americans. China is one country that America does not have a military base on. I can't. Japan, yeah, you're close, but China. So, but they do have Marine. Let's see who's smart. There are U.S. Marines in the fiction Dun and Bradstreet listed government of China. Why would Marines be in China? Who knows?
Look, me personally, you can't take the money with you when you die. I don't care about the money. I just want my necessaries.
Amen.
Yeah, by the way.
Give me my house.
But anyway, why would Marines be in China? Embassy duty, that's it. There ain't no U.S. base.
Well,
so,
you do know China was set up to be our enemy.
Of course.
Now, we won't get into the Jews yet. Okay? China, go back to Bill Clinton. Why did Monica Lewinsky get put in the news? Because right before Monica Lewinsky, it came out that the Clinton administration leaked nuclear secrets to China. So they had to cover that story up. So they made it about a blowjob.
I've got a lot of backstory about. Listen, when they fake arrested me for January 6th, let me tell you what the FBI said to me. And by the way, so as they say, I made so my mother was over at my house that morning, and we're sitting in the back. It was a nice spring morning, having coffee, and I'm looking down the road, and I saw black vehicles. And these people are not smart. I'm like, oh boy, okay. So she left, and
Walk
they're
out
still
there,
sitting
shut
there.
up, pack a bag.
No, so I went in. I just cleaned it, squared away the house, and then I walked to the property line. And then they rolled up, and I'm a pacifist. I was maybe dumb. I didn't say, where's your warrant? I was like, I'll go with you. So I think it was a fake arrest, because if they had a proper warrant, wouldn't they have come a knocking? And why did they wait till I went to my property line?
Yeah.
And dumbass, what do you say to that?
I don't know. Look, I know enough. I know more than I should. Let's just put it like that. But I know they do a lot of things that when you really analyze it, you don't understand it at the time. But that it's the media. Look, Jesus said what? The God of this world is Satan. And Satan comes to kill, steal, and destroy. He is also the father of lies. Now, if you look at what it says in the Bible, that you're fighting against the principalities and powers of the air. Well, what is over the air today? The media. The media is the mouthpiece of Lucifer.
Yes, and you know what?
They are putting out is all lies. The
yes,
government
and I
government.
admit that I succumbed to fear
I
that
don't
they're
know
going to
why.
get anybody that was there and they're going to lock them in. I did believe in the beginning that there was a gulag and they were going to whisk people away and blah, 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 blah. But it didn't take long. I'm like, no, because once, I'm telling you, once these J6, and as soon as they started dumbing it down to J6, that's marketing. I studied marketing. It's called dumbing it down. What is J6? You invented a term. It's called January. What the hell is J6? J6 defendants. That's pure fucking marketing. That's a psyop. I'm sorry, folks.
Yeah,
I'm not dumb.
it's all marketing because why? The American people are gullible. They fall for it all the time.
So they didn't really arrest me, and they tried to recruit me. Like he says. So they said, my superior wants to know if you'd be interested in working. Yeah, they're trying to initiate me because I'm smart, I'm well traveled, I've lived in China. I know. Let's say I've been in the entertainment industry in New York. I've been in Hollywood. I've rubbed elbows with whatever. I'm not trying to toot my horn, but yeah, I'd be a perfect freaking agent, to be honest. Oh, by the way, I do have a CDL.
Now, I've been driving truck for 19 years. I love my job, but I'd give it up in a heartbeat if I had the money to where I could chase my dream.
Are you owner op? What are you, a company driver or what?
No, owner op.
Are you?
Yep.
You know anybody I could do a 1099 private contract with by any chance?
If the money's right, I'll do something.
No, I'm just saying I'm a pretty good truck driver, but I'm not doing I'm not living in a truck. I was working got my CDL in 19.
Oh, what you're asking is, do you have a truck and you need somewhere to put it?
No, I'm just wondering if there's anybody that owner operator, a small fleet. I know some Russians down in
you're
New
talking
Jersey.
about you want to drive as a company driver.
No, well, yeah, company driver, but I don't want to be an employee. I'll do it 1099 or, I like what the Sikhs are doing, by the way. I know a few Sikhs out there, and they run that. They don't care about that FMC, DOT.
Man, some of those Sikhs, they don't get their truck worked on. They cut a hole in the bottom of the truck and shit going down the road.
Yeah, I know what they do. I know what they do, and you know what? I'm not here to judge them. They're doing what they're doing, and they the way they do. You know what I respect about them is they're doing it their fucking way to the best they can. They're squeaking by, so I give them respect for that. I know they cut holes and piss and shit down the road. Team driving.
Yeah. Well, I tell you this, I love COVID because right now I'm running COVID exempt. I have electronic logs, but my log books have red lines every day. Why? I don't pay attention to that log book. I'm on COVID exempt. As long as I keep refrigerated goods in that trailer, I don't worry about a log book.
Y'all, you do reefer?
Yep, and I mean,
you got your own trailer. Who's your owner operator and
Yeah, I'm leased onto a company, but I can take my truck anywhere. The guy gives me 78%
what do you do?
of the load.
So you're in North Carolina?
That's where I'm from. Yeah.
I mean, that's where you're based, but that's where you're based, or where are you based out of?
No, Missouri.
Oh, you're in Missouri. So you do OTR national or regional?
Yeah, I'm on my way to Montana right now. I'll be in Montana tomorrow night. Not tomorrow night, Sunday night. I got 1,752 more miles.
What do you use for internet?
I'll be. Shit, I do everything through my tablet.
Data? Oh, you got satellite?
No.
Cool. What are you driving? Freightliner? Volvo?
Cell phone and my tablet. I mean, I'm one of those high bandwidth users. The cell phone companies don't.
Hey, sorry guys to talk some trucking stuff, but whatever.
I got a 2016
Yeah,
International
my
Pro
daughter.
Star.
The good news is my daughter's coming back here at the end of the month. I haven't seen her in 3 years because we have a home over in Shanghai, China. And
Yeah.
everything that's going on, locking them down, locking us up here. You got to get a jab to fly on an airplane. So yeah, three. Somebody's. You know what? How much is that worth, by the way? That I've been disconnected from my I have a 10-year visa to China, but then COVID comes. No, your visa don't work anymore.
Well, I know somebody's got a passport, and on the back of her passport card it says she has all her rights to travel by land or sea.
Oh yeah,
She is
hey, Floyd was
almost
doing that.
that close. She's that close to diplomatic immunity.
I think I have it. Hey, listen, I was in a So again, keep in mind this is post quote unquote fake arrest January 6th. But I was in the Loves down in Georgia. I think it was in maybe March or something. For anybody that doesn't know what a Loves is, it's a truck stop, but it's also consumer gasoline as well. It's a
Yeah. It's
Anyway.
family owned, and they're actually a decent family.
They were in some. There's some court cases where anyway, Loves.
Well, yeah, they're.
Oh no,
not a
that's
bad
Pilot. No,
family.
I'm talking about the Pilot court case. Pilot flying.
Oh yeah,
J.
you know what the Pilot Flying J court all that was about, right? Look who took it over, Warren Buffett.
Yeah,
all
there
that
you go.
stuff about the tax problems with the family that had Pilot Flying J. That was a freaking smokescreen to get them to sell, so Buffett could take it over
For pennies.
And now Buffett is pushing them to stop production of DEF. They've been before Congress testifying to this.
Crazy. So yeah. Anyway, I was in a Pilot. I was in a Loves. I don't know. I was buying something that I needed to ID or something, and it was let's say it was it was in Georgia. So imagine the kind of staff. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I just said something about ID, and this uppity bitch behind the sir, I'm not serving you. I didn't yell. I didn't curse. I didn't say. I just brought something up about ID and the government, and they didn't like it. He said, I'm not going to serve you, and you have to leave. I'm like, no, I don't. So they called the police. I stood my ground. Police came, blah, 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 did all that thing. You have to leave. I said, are you giving me a lawful order? So I said, okay. Because I did not ID. Didn't have to. Then I came out. Then I went out to my truck. And I'm looking, because, if you don't understand, when you're in a truck, you can't just get out. You got to find a place where you got to put a 53 trailer and plus your tractor truck.
Yeah.
So you can't just get in your road and go to some parking lot. So I'm looking for another place. Then the cops roll up. We told you to leave. And I'm like, and I said, what do you mean? Like grease lightning or something? I mean, and of course, no offense. And we need to talk about this female energy that, clerks of the court and all that, because this is one of the anyway, another story. So these cops are like, yeah. So they were about to go hands on and drag me out of the truck. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to ID under duress. And I gave them my passport. And of course they looked at that. I said, that's valid. They ran the ID. And then something changed. Where they said, yeah, okay, you're all good, no warrants or whatever. And they were smiling, and their demeanor changed like instantaneously. They said, there's a TA, Travel America down the road, which is another truck,
Yeah.
I'm trying to translate for the other folks. And half of me was expecting them to Okay, I had a few beers. Anyway, they did not trail me down the road or nothing. So I don't know what they ran, but something's up with my ID and where I was declared dead and all that. I don't know what's going on. And when I was living overseas over 7 years for debt cancellation, I was feeling, I'd have to get a lot of pages in my passport because I traveled a lot and you got to get visas and stamps and all that. And I would always go in there and fill 000 social security number. I would not say U.S. citizen. I would cross it out, American. So they got the record. I know I did something, and I think I have do not detain. I mean, I can't explain that. They were ready to go hands on, so I ID'd, and then they came back, their demeanor changed completely. How do you interpret that?